Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this conference in this beautiful space on a beautiful early fall day. It's glad you all could be here. We're here to talk about expanding energy access in the developing world through decentralized clean energy solutions. And I know we have a number of people here from all over, but also not just geographically dispersed, but a number of people of technical knowledge, business backgrounds, government, finance. So welcome everybody, and thank you all for being here. I want to especially thank ARC Finance for kind of pulling this together and being your leadership in making this event possible. I also like to acknowledge our future speakers later this morning. Shari Berenbach, who I've known for many years, going way back. We won't talk about how long, but and Elizabeth Littlefield, who is the CEO and president of the Overseas Private Investment Corporation. So this will be great to hear from them. They have been super leaders in the area of decentralized off-grid energy, and so look forward to hearing from them later this morning. So today we're joined by some of USAID's private sector partners from countries as diverse as India, Kenya, Haiti, and Uganda. Each of these executives is guiding his or her organization to become a leader in meeting the needs of the energy poor by developing new business lines with exciting prospects for growth. So for all of you, thank you for being here. We have a lot to learn from you, and I hope you are going to share your experiences with everybody, formally, maybe in panels, but in the coffee breaks. I can tell you just before we got started, I was having great conversations and learning about some of the projects people have, and that got the mind going about ideas of what more we could do, both in energy and frankly in other areas as well. But all of us are here today because we have a common belief that access to reliable and affordable electricity, as well as clean fuels and technologies for cooking, is key to improving the quality of life, for increasing economic growth, and alleviating poverty. We are here because over 1.3 billion people lack access to electricity. Another 1 billion people lack access to reliable electricity. And close to 3 billion people lack access to modern cooking fuels and technologies. So clearly we have a lot to do. So that is why USAID is striving to increase energy access in underserved areas, especially in sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia, where the needs are greatest. Ultimately, our goal is for all people to have access to affordable, reliable energy whenever they need it, and for that energy supply to be financially and environmentally sustainable. To that end, we're taking a multi-pronged approach. We're working to expand central grid systems in urban and peri-urban areas, and we're promoting decentralized solutions in areas where the central grid doesn't and probably will not reach. In all of our efforts to improve energy access, we are placing a major emphasis on increasing the use of renewables and improving energy efficiency. Expanding energy access to poor, often remote populations, though, is a critical development challenge. These people typically rely on low-quality, unhealthy, and often expensive sources of energy, such as kerosene, candles, and diesel, and they need solutions now. These are the people for whom small, clean energy devices, such as the solar home systems, make sense, especially in the short term. These products are not hazardous to the health or to the environment. They are becoming affordable, and there are private sector actors, probably many of them here in this room, who are interested in supplying them. Our to Power Africa Beyond the Grid sub-initiative alone has 30 private sector partners targeting this space. And as you will learn from today's workshop, a small solar lantern can give a big impact to a family's life. Whether by extending work hours, enabling children to do their homework, giving women a sense of security when they go outside at night, or simply charging a mobile phone. Off-grid energy solutions can meet basic energy needs and start moving people up the energy ladder. I also expect you will learn today that we cannot simply view ending the energy poverty as simply an energy initiative. To address energy poverty, we need the ideas, the tools, and the collaboration of many sectors. For instance, USAID's Development Innovation Ventures team has funded 20 grants to off-grid energy technology providers and distributors, seeking to spur private sector technological innovation and business development. And I was just talking to one of those innovators earlier today. Our Development Credit Authority has issued credit guarantees totaling more than $100 million in order to catalyze financial sector provision of working capital and consumer finance in the off-grid sector. We are also working with other U.S. government agencies, multilateral development agencies, and of course the private sector to accomplish these energy goals. Partnerships allow us to pool our resources, technical expertise, and brainstorm ideas to address complex challenges. They are also critical if we are to reach the sort of scale that's necessary to make a dent in the numbers that I cited earlier. The Renewable Energy Microfinance and Micro Enterprise Program, REMMP, I believe you all know well, is an excellent example of the type of technical leadership and public-private partnership that is crucial to finding sustainable solutions to energy poverty. This program seeks to identify innovative business models in the off-grid space, specifically those related to consumer finance. Program partners have succeeded in selling over 130,000 clean energy products to some of the world's poorest people by developing unique business models appropriate for their cultural and institutional contexts. Today, we will be looking more closely at several of these models, including microfinance, asset finance, and remittances. Art Finance, the program implementer, goes to great pains to collect and analyze data from our partners and our beneficiaries. And this data certainly helps Art Finance do its work to target its strategies and to adjust based on market needs. But for USAID, this data is also valuable for understanding the impact on the sector and to make evidence-based decisions regarding our programming. So during this workshop, we want to share what has been learned to date in hope that we can stimulate even greater knowledge and spur and catalyze more public-private partnerships or even just partnerships around this area. I look forward to hearing the many ideas that come out of this workshop, and I congratulate you for coming together, and I look forward to hearing the great results. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Charles. So now that we've talked a little bit about energy access, I want to turn to the REMMP program itself. When we set about designing REMMP, we made some fundamental decisions that affected the type of partners we would work with and the type of work that we wanted to do. So first, we decided to focus on consumer finance because we knew that the energy poor have difficulty coming up with cash necessary to buy clean energy products, especially for the more expensive products that offer more power. So even though cash sales still account for a significant percentage of REMMP partner sales, today you'll be hearing about options that enable consumers to pay for clean energy access in smaller increments over time via a variety of methods. Now, second, we chose to document models and companies that we thought held promise for reaching scale. So the off-grid space is filled with projects and ventures that sell a few hundred, maybe a few thousand products, We wanted to see if we could find partners that could sell at a minimum in the tens of thousands by the time we ended the project. So for that reason, 2 of the 3 panels that you'll hear from today, microfinance and remittances, feature partners that already had well-established client or customer networks. So ARC Finance provided technical assistance and sometimes grants to these partners to help them create new financial products or business lines focused on clean energy. So we saw ourselves as a way of trying to bring them together to try to utilize their existing networks and see if we could leverage that for clean energy. Third, as Charles mentioned, we wanted hard data so that we could really track what was happening on the ground and base decisions on evidence and not assumptions. So all REMP partners are required to share sales and financial information on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, sorry. And at the outset of the program, we put a special emphasis on collecting data that would give us insights into gender dynamics. And you're going to hear about some of these results in a few moments. And fourth, as a donor-funded program, we had to be concerned about sustainability. And that's why REMP works with private sector partners. ARC's technical assistance helps to de-risk their forays into a new space and catalyze new business partnerships that can be sustained after the program ends. And the other way we've thought about sustainability is to develop new tools that we think will be useful for others who might want to try to do something similar and replicate this business model somewhere else. So those tools are under development now, and when they're done, they will be up on the website for everybody to see. So now I've told you, about how we established REMP and what we wanted to accomplish. I'd like to introduce Nikki Armacost, the Managing Director of ARC Finance, to tell you about what the program has achieved so far.
Thank you, Pam. And I'd like to join Pam and Charles in welcoming all of you, many old friends who are here. It's wonderful to see all of you, and new friends who hopefully will find the work that we've been doing interesting. And thanks in advance to Jayesh, who's going to help me flip the slides. So the first thing that I wanted to show you is the trend that we have in terms of the people that we've reached. And when I'm talking about people, we mean actual clients, customers who have purchased a clean energy device. So if you want to think about the beneficiaries, then you multiply that 133,000 number by 5 in the case of most of the countries that we're dealing with, which is the typical average household size. So it's well over 600,000 beneficiaries that have benefited from the work of our partners around the world. And we as a team, we end up producing these decks for ourselves on a quarterly basis. And I have to tell you, as the J graph starts to get steeper, we get much more excited. In the very beginning, you can imagine the meetings were much less interesting, or kind of we were less enthusiastic than we are now. As each quarter, it starts to go up more steeply. So the next slide shows you the percentages year by year of people who have taken financing. We do have a number of partners who are offering products on a cash basis, but we have a significant number of customers and clients that are using financing to purchase their devices. The next slide shows you the types of energy products sold. When we first started REMP, we thought that because of the sector that we were dealing with, most of the customers were going to be customers for simple lanterns. It turns out that's actually one of the smallest percentages. What people are looking for is devices that are offering them more diversity in terms of their energy options. And so the largest number are lanterns with mobile charging capacity, but also a significant number of plug-and-play solar home systems. And that category of other includes a myriad of products ranging from cook stoves to microgrids. So there's real diversity in the portfolio of our partners. The next slide shows you the sales by payment model. So, so if you are looking at cash, it's mostly the simple lights and the mobile charging lanterns, which is sort of fairly predictable given the low income of most of our client base. But when we start to look at end user financing, you're able to see people are able to purchase more elaborate devices like solar home systems. So on the next slide, just a very quick snapshot of some of the ways we collect data that both Charles and Pam referred to. We have 3 different methods that we're using. Very traditional market research, where we will meet with clients of our partners in focus groups and have detailed discussions around various aspects, either of the design of the financing program or, in the case of Soj Express, one of our partners you'll hear about later, the way in which the agent model might work to enable them to market more effectively to clients. And what we end up doing is we use that kind of research to inform program design. Another thing that we do on an annual basis is customer surveys, where we will take a small percentage of the total clients of each of the partners, and we will interview those clients on the phone and gather insights into whether the product is still working for them, why they ended up making those choices. A lot of data that's quite interesting, and we cross-reference the data so we can see whether the trends are different for men and women, if the trends are different for rural, urban, and see whether there are some interesting insights that come out of that. And we have a new initiative that is just coming out with some quite interesting data now, which we're calling the Energy Diaries initiative. We actually think we've invented this. No one else has done this anywhere in the world, and we're doing this work in India with 3 different organizations that offer different kinds of products. And it's a very innovative, we think, new way of studying energy at the household level. And what we're doing is we're measuring every energy transaction, which ranges from everything related to turning a light on, turning a light off, to financial transactions, which are purchasing fuel. And so we're trying to see what are the behaviors of clients and how can we take those behaviors and use them to provide us with insights into the way a business model can be improved. So the data is actually very rich, and it's providing us with some quite interesting results, preliminary, let me say, but interesting results relating to gender and relating to behaviors of poor people in relation to their financial relationships vis-a-vis energy. So the next slide gives you some of the satisfaction data that have come out of our phone surveys. 97% of people say they're satisfied. 92% say that they would recommend the product to friends and family. And the trick now is how do we leverage that into actual sales? But it's quite interesting and obviously data that makes us pleased. The last, I think it's the last, or no, maybe the second to last slide, gives you, so the next slide, Jayesh, if possible. The next slide, it gives you some insights into after-sales service. This is a key issue. I think you've all heard this in probably every conference you've been to, that after-sales service is really important. One of the things that we do in our survey is obviously ask people if they're satisfied with the product or not. We ask them if they're satisfied, if they understand the warranty process, if they're satisfied with the way in which the process has been dealt with. And we ask them, what were their experiences in terms of problem solving. 22% of people had some kind of a problem. Mostly the problems related to battery performance, we found out. And 34% of that 22% said that they repaired or replaced the product. The remaining people the problem went away somehow or other. Either they weren't attaching the devices properly, there was some kind of education process, but we were very interested to see that the issues with service were actually being dealt with and were important to customers to find proper solutions for. And then the final slide, almost final slide, relates to plans for future purchases. 63% of the people said they wanted to buy another product, and we were, of course, very pleased to hear that the other product that they wanted to buy was a larger product that would provide them with more energy access. Normally a product that would power a device which was important to them, usually a fan in the initial stages, but sometimes a TV or other devices like that. And then this final slide gives you a little bit of a sense of some of the findings that we have had relating to the benefit of solar products disaggregated by gender. So 56% of all REMP clients are women. 64% of the clients who have received financing are women. And in terms of the top three benefits, for women, the most important benefit is education and cooking. And then the third most important benefit for women was family time. Men actually shared the first two preferences. We were actually surprised by the number of men who cared about cooking, but obviously the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. Apparently this is reinforced through our research. And then the third most important benefit for men, emphasized more than women, was mobile charging, which also may not be such a surprise to you. So these are some of the interesting insights that we've come to through the data. And Pam, I'm going to hand back to you. Or do you want me to stay? Okay, perfect.
So now Nikki and I get to tag team, and we're running a little tight on time, so we're going to talk faster.
Yeah.
And just so now that you've seen, a bit about what the program's done, the sorts of products that are being sold, we wanted to share with you our insights and what we think are some lessons learned and some emerging trends. And we've divided those into two broad categories, insights into business models and insights into consumers. So I'm going to tackle business models. I've got 6 points. I'm going to talk fast. And I think the first one is that business models are constantly evolving as companies react to opportunities and challenges in the market. The new approaches can be prompted by a number of different factors. It could be technological innovation, regulatory changes, competition, new insights into consumer needs and behaviors. And this business model pivot is a theme that you're going to hear this afternoon throughout the day on the panels, because virtually every partner that we worked with in REMP has adapted their business plan, sometimes quite dramatically. The other thing that you're going to hear in the panels is there is not just one way to implement a business model. So even within companies doing basically the same thing, they're coming up with many different types of strategic approaches to do it. And you'll be hearing that as we go into the panels. Next, retaining and developing the right team is a key to success. This is not rocket science, but virtually every partner that we've worked with has had challenges with staff turnover, and that has affected their growth. Sometimes it's happened at senior levels, sometimes at the lower levels. So having the top management support, having that buy-in is critical, obviously, for any company's success, but particularly in getting through some of these personnel-related challenges. But actually growing the business, you really need the support of your field staff. The other, it's not going to surprise anybody that financing is always an issue. You ask somebody, what are your constraints? Financing always comes up. But companies need access to affordable working capital, especially in local currency. And the lack of local currency financing at any rate, let alone an affordable rate, is a key barrier for a lot of the companies that we've been working with, and especially for those that have business models where they need a lot of upfront financing or a lot of upfront cash to purchase products. So I can speak from experience with this. I think it applies for a donor as much as for a company that in the early stages of developing a new business model or rolling out a program, it's very easy to underestimate the cost, the time, and the level of effort it takes to scale operations. Internal marketing and outreach is time-consuming, especially with a large company. They have to train all levels of the organization and often on multiple topics. It could be including the financial product and its terms, the technology and its benefits, how to educate consumers and carry out warranty registration and fulfillment procedures. This all takes a lot of time and effort. It's really easy to underestimate it, but it's critical. So it takes a lot of patience, a lot of creativity, and a sense of humor doesn't hurt. So, and finally, we need to remember this sector's growing. It's poised for potentially large growth, but it is still fragile. So I'm going to turn to Nikki.
So let me share just some very quick, high-level insights, some which may not be too surprising to you and some which may make you arch your eyebrows, based on some of the work that we've done, some of it through the Energy Diaries work and through some of the others, the other initiatives. And all of these generalizations that we're making here are very early stage, and what we want to do is, through the next 2 years of REMMP, test some of them to see whether we'll be coming back and saying these same things to you in 2 years' time. So one of the things that we found is that when households acquire a solar device, they're reporting that solar virtually replaces all kerosene for lighting. This is a point that I think was considered controversial. People were saying, no, it's not happening. Our data is showing that that is happening. We find also that solar is often used in conjunction with the grid where the grid exists, because the grid is unpredictable. And what consumers value is solar's reliability. Even those consumers who have grid access still want solar as it's filling a need. And what we're finding is that consumers are less tolerant when they have disruptions if they have some grid access already. They've already adjusted their lifestyles. It's like all of us. We all panic when there's a blackout here. It's as if a disaster's happened. And poor consumers are the same. So having the grid it doesn't mean that that solar is not important to those people. In some ways, it's almost more important. The other thing that we're finding is that when it comes to energy access, people are not acting in a linear way. It's not so much an energy ladder or escalator, as if when you finish the first rung, you're now on the second rung. It's more of a spectrum where people have developed a kind of portfolio approach to where clear distinctions between on-grid and off-grid don't apply as much. Energy products are coexisting in households, and they're serving different needs. This is something we didn't expect at the beginning of REMMP, to find this insight, and so we're really interested in it, and we want to do more research to tease out what are the business opportunities that this insight offers. We also have a small number of consumers, who are trying to game the system. And poor consumers are very clever. Some of them have come up with some quite interesting tactics, which we chuckle at. For example, let me give you some examples. In the microfinance sector, there are the clients who report a problem. If they have a 12-month warranty or if they have a 24-month warranty, they report a problem with their system in the 11th month and the 23rd month. Very interesting. And just before the warranty runs out. So there's something interesting going on there in terms of their psychology about how they might get this system replaced for free, because they're worried that something, that the service won't be there at the end of the warranty period. In the asset finance companies, we see some consumers who have hacked the system. They've bypassed the system as if it were the grid. they're treating it as if it's the formal grid, and they're bypassing the system, even though it's their own system. They're hacking their own system. So, the psychology is kind of interesting. In effect, they're cheating themselves as delaying their ability to own the system. We want to understand these behaviors. We want to see if we can work out how to improve the overall service our partners provide through the insights offered by these outliers. These are a small number of people, but the outliers are always interesting in any sector. And we want to be able to see if customers and see if our partners can help pivot to avoid this kind of cheating or learn from the cheating to improve their systems. And then an interesting insight that we found in relation to gender is that in solar households, women and girls are making more energy transactions, as I explained earlier, turning a light on, lighting a stove, than men or boys. There's some evidence to show that this is not just because they're in the home more, which could be an explanation. It's also because with solar, women and girls in particular are more free to make energy-related choices. They don't have to ask permission to turn the light on or off. And it doesn't cost any money, and it's not dangerous, it's not gonna create a fire if it breaks. So we're very interested in this. If this ends up being something that we can say across multiple sites, we think that that's actually a very important empowerment statement that we can make about solar that can't be made about more traditional fuels. So those are just teasers for you. It's some interesting insights. We need to go deeper into them. And I think that in the course of the day, you will hear other insights from some of our partners. They'll tell stories, which I think you'll find interesting, hopefully. When we come together right after the event, we can share. We'll sum up some of the other insights that we've heard from all of you as you respond to us. So thank you for that. Hope you found it interesting. And now we'll move to the next phase of our agenda.